Robert McCall is up early, getting ready and going to his job at Home Mart. He is respected and well liked among his co-workers. He sits down for lunch with his friend Ralphie. McCall hears a crunch as Ralphie bites into his sandwich. His sandwich has chips. McCall reminds Ralphie that he is meant to be losing weight to prepare for his security guard test. McCall lives alone, and often has a hard time sleeping. McCall usually goes to a diner at night and carries a book. Currently, he is reading The Old Man and the Sea. A young girl in the diner asks McCall whether the man in the book has caught the fish. He says not yet. She tries to have a conversation, and McCall tells the girl to stop consuming refined sugar, as it's bad for her vocal cords. The girl agrees to do so. She leaves after eating her pie and calls a taxi. McCall's co-workers ask about his previous job. He joked about being a pip for Gladys Knight and doing some dance for them. That night, McCall meets the same girl at the diner. He's reading a new book, which she notices. A limo arrives across the street from the diner. She then receives a call from her pimp, Slavy. He informs her that she has a customer, who is the guy in the limo. The girl refuses because this guy is a pig. In the car, there is an obese man. She reluctantly goes outside to join him. The following day, McCall trains Ralphie to help him pass the security guard test. Ralphie gets exhausted and gives up, but McCall encourages him not to. McCall finds the girl at the diner that night. She had a bruise on her cheek. He hands her a donut he brought from work. She joins him at his table and introduces herself as Terry, and McCall says his name is Bob, but she knows his real name and then reveals her real name is Alina. He asks what happened to her face, but Alina doesn't reply. She gives McCall a CD with a recording of herself singing in it. Later, McCall walks with her before a vehicle pulls up in front of them. Slavy emerges and smacks Alina. McCall moves forward until he notices Tevi has a gun. Slavy approaches McCall and gives him a business card to ask for other girls. The following night, McCall arrives at the diner and waits for Alina, but she doesn't show up. The next evening, as he enters the diner, the manager informs him that Alina is in the ICU after being beaten badly. McCall goes there and sees another girl named Mandy by Alina's side. Alina's face has become much more bruised and swollen. Mandy cries as she goes past McCall. She grabs a cup of coffee, but it overflows. McCall consoles her and asks about Alina. Mandy informs him that Slavy hit Alina, and when she hit him back, Slavy made an example of her. Mandy says that Slavy burned one girl's face with battery acid to keep her around as a reminder. Mandy reveals they brought Alina over very young, and she thought her life would be hers one day, but Slavy keeps reminding her it never would be. McCall checks the card Slavy gave him. Meanwhile, Slavy arrives at a restaurant and heads upstairs to his office to find his men having drinks inside. He then collects payments from Tevi. After a while, McCall enters the room, and they wonder how he got there. McCall asks him to give Alina her life back and gives him an envelope containing $9,800 for Alina's freedom. At first, the goons laugh at McCall, though Slavy says the money would be good to keep Alina for 1 month. McCall takes the money and begins to walk away. He is about to go when he chooses not to leave and locks the door. He thoroughly analyzes the men and any weapons they are possibly holding and sets a timer on his watch. One of the guys points a gun at McCall, but he grabs him and makes him shoot Slavy in the throat. He then takes everyone out before repeatedly stabbing Tevi until he sticks it under his chin and finishes him off. McCall goes to Slavy's side and watches him slowly die. That night, McCall was finally able to sleep well. He returns to his routine as if nothing happened and listens to the killings over the news. Following the killings, a Russian mobster named Teddy arrives in Boston and quickly reaches the crime scene. He looks over how brutally they got killed. Teddy brings in corrupt cops to gain leads, but they reveal none of their informants knew about it, and the security system's hard drive has gone missing. At work, McCall notices Ralphie isn't in. He's told that Ralphie quit. McCall visits a restaurant where Ralphie's mother works at. Ralphie is helping there after a fire broke out, supposedly by accident. Ralphie later reveals that he quit because he will not pass the security guard test. Meanwhile, a crooked cop named Frank brings Teddy to the workplace of an Irish gangster named John Looney to continue his hunt for the murderer. John insults Teddy, as well as all Russians in general. Teddy responds by hitting John fiercely as Frank takes out John's thugs. Teddy punches John's face till he collapses. Later that day, Teddy meets Mandy and asks if she noticed anything strange about Slavy before he got killed, but Mandy says she knows nothing about Slavy as Tevi handled them. Teddy then asks about Alina, who is missing, but Mandy denies knowing her. Teddy later gets a call from his boss, Vladimir Pushkin, who needs him to find the killer quickly and send the message loudly. The other two dirty cops of Teddy, Ramar and Peterson, are eating at Ralphie's mother's restaurant. They extort money from her and threaten her with another accident if she doesn't pay them on time. McCall spots them leaving the restaurant and tells them he wants to report a crime. They brush him off until he calls one of them personally. McCall shows them a video of them extorting a convenience store clerk with evidence of their confession to start the fire at the restaurant. McCall is held at gunpoint by the cops, but he soon takes on both of them. McCall informs them that they can either return the money or the footage will be aired on television. They are forced to obey, and they return the money to Ralphie's mother the following morning. Teddy later finds furious that she lied to him. Mandy is scared and tells him about her meeting with McCall at the hospital, but Teddy doesn't get his name as McCall hasn't revealed his name to Mandy. After getting the information, Teddy kills her. McCall is seen playing baseball with his co-workers. Ralphie arrives in a security guard uniform after passing his test. Meanwhile, Teddy gets the footage of the restaurant's entrance and gets suspicious of McCall as he is only found entering the restaurant but never exits. A crook comes to Home Mart and holds the cashier Jenny at gunpoint until she hands him the money in the register. McCall comes over casually and hands him the money. The thief also wants Jenny's ring, which is her mother's, and she tearfully hands it to him. McCall notes various details of the man, including his tattoos and cap. He doesn't make a move since the children enter the store with their mother. McCall instead goes after the man outside and checks the license plates on his car. The cops notify them that it was one of a series of robberies committed by the same guy. McCall then proceeds to take a sledgehammer off the rack. The following day, Jenny discovers her ring in the register. McCall then returns the hammer to the rack after wiping it clean. Teddy gets some information regarding McCall, which appears clean, with no indication that he is involved with Slavy's death. Teddy arrives at McCall's place, poses as a detective, and tries to warn him by telling him about Mandy's death. Teddy tells his man everything about him is wrong, and McCall watches him as he leaves. Ramar thinks McCall is clean, but Teddy thinks everything is fabricated and desperately wants to know who McCall is and whom he is working for. Teddy and Frank, along with Ramar and Peterson, stake out while one of their guys tries to catch McCall at the diner. McCall knows the man is up to no good and asks him if they're waiting for anyone else. The man takes out a gun and starts to walk over to him. A truck pulls up by the diner, obscuring the view for Teddy and Frank. McCall strikes him in the stomach with his book before slamming the head down on the table. He then switches off the lights in the diner. He comes out of the diner and takes pictures of Teddy and his men in their vehicle. The gangsters follow McCall home. He boils some honey to tend to a wound sustained by the gunman. But McCall is elsewhere and watches them from cameras hidden around his apartment. Teddy knows he is watching. McCall goes to the home of his friends Brian and Susan Plummer. McCall knows Susan can gather information regarding Teddy and the people he works for. While she is out getting what he asked for, Brian tells McCall that he is believed to have been dead, but Susan knows the truth. When she returns, she informs McCall that the men he murdered were members of the Russian Mafia commanded by Vladimir Pushkin. Pushkin sends Teddy when things need to get done. Peterson and Ramar were on Pushkin's payroll, but they were discovered dead a few days ago, and Frank hasn't turned up for work in a few days. Susan tells McCall that these men will not stop until he and everyone he loves are dead. Frank is at his house scared, avoiding Teddy's calls. Suddenly he hears the car alarm and goes to check, only to get knocked by McCall. He traps Frank in his car with a hose to poison him with carbon monoxide until he agrees to help him. Frank relents and guides McCall to a warehouse where the Russians keep their money. McCall manages to get all the gangsters there to surrender. He then offers some money and frees the workers. McCall then makes Frank call the police and asks him about his safety deposit. After a while, the police arrive and arrest Frank. The cops find all the gangsters tied up in a room full of money. McCall then goes to Frank's safety deposit box and gets his money, passport, and a USB containing more information regarding Pushkin and his dealings. He finds Pushkin's oil tankers and blows them all up. Teddy and his men overtake Home Mart and hold McCall's friends, including Ralphie and Jenny, hostage unless he goes to confront them. The villains track his cell phone to await his arrival. When he doesn't appear to show, they almost execute one of McCall's co-workers until the music starts playing over the intercom. One takes Ralphie out to stop it, and they arrive at the security room, where McCall suddenly shows up and takes him out. He then knocks out the other guy and tells Ralphie to take everyone out using the service doors. Teddy and his remaining men enter the store, but McCall kills all the lights. The gangsters keep looking for him. McCall stealthily moves around the place and starts taking them out by killing one of them with barbed wire and stabbing another through the neck. He later kills one with a drilling machine. Ralphie goes to help McCall, but he gets shot in the leg. McCall helps him escape and tells him to run away. The last man follows Ralphie, but McCall blows him up in a room with hydrogen and a microwave, setting off the sprinklers. Now McCall is left with Teddy alone, and he takes a nail gun and repeatedly shoots, making him fall on his knees, before shooting him in the throat, killing him. 3 days later, McCall corners Pushkin in his home in Moscow as Pushkin is taking a shower. McCall continuously switches on and off the lights and pumps the sink water. Pushkin goes by the sink and finds McCall has vanished. He is unaware that McCall cut the wires and left them exposed. The water hits the wires, and Pushkin is electrocuted. The other guards have already been killed. McCall returns to Boston and is approached by Alina, no longer bruised up. She tells him she has started to do some reading and got a real job. She thanks McCall for what he did and kisses him on the cheek before they bid each other farewell. The last scene features McCall back at the diner on his laptop. He receives a message asking for help. He simply replies, "Yes." Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button below to see more like it.